Y'all, flee with the lottery because possibly they spotted me. It's the battle-scarred Shogun. Explosion in my pen hits tremendous. Ultraviolet shine, blind forensics. I inspect you to the future sea millennium. Killer Beast sold 60 gold, 50 platinum. And that's right, infidels, it's all platinum hits at WHMG here as we take home the grand finale of Wrestle House. Bravo! Stand up, Barry Horowitz yourself on an incredible performance impact because it's the Impact Attack as we break it down here at hackerhameen.podbean.com. YOLO! Fuck with me, son. Seriously, today I'm up early. Second cup of Broasters coffee in me already, dude. So I'm wired. I'm wired for sound. And I was so ecstatic at the performances I saw and the writing I saw last night. Really just had me tuned in to watch the third act of this phenomenal satire wrestle crap, just gaga fun stuff in a time of total, madness, like really play out. And it gave me that sense of watching a Sopranos or a show that you love coming to a close and you lament for it, but you feel so good that you made it through everything and they tied all the loose ends together. We're going to get into it. It was a brilliant, brilliant Impact month, 6 weeks really of work that paid off in doing what long-term business should be done, even in the most comedic way. He's back out of the dungeon. I gave him a blow-up mattress and his keyboard back. We need him to do some business, but he's back in the house. Infidel 432, Ja Rastafari, you're here, buddy.
What's up? What's going on, guys? That's right. We're back. I was starting to get a little emotional here, just thinking about the production value that went into the conclusion of this Wrestle House. Everything wrapped up. I mean, I was literally sitting there clapping like at the television, like that was so beautifully done. And you are correct. The culmination of this month after month storyline with the final build, and we got a good payoff, is just I think a good reminder of what pro wrestling should be in these days, in this day and age. And unfortunately, not a lot of the other professional wrestling leagues, entertainment companies, whatever you want to call them, are producing such content as Impact is. But yes, I am Matthew Schaffer, your host of the most lives on the West Coast. Yeah, boy, MSG. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew_Schaffer. We got another exciting episode of Impact. I got a couple different stories here, from a pro wrestling announcer leaving to another story I've got here. But before we get to those stories, we got I don't know what type of individual where he's from. I don't want to cultural appropriate and say he's from the actual Outback. Yeah. I'll say, Outback Ted, or he could be from just an Outback. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Outback Ted.
Well, good eye, mate. How y'all doing this morning? How you going? I am Australian from the land of Oz. We saw last night on Impact, Tenelle Dashwood made her return, and she needs someone in her back pocket to keep her on her toes and remember her Australian roots. Because we know she doesn't want the championship. What does every Australian really want? A big old plate of cheese fries right from the Outback. And I'm going to help Tenelle Dashwood to get those cheese fries, because I just had my brekkie, and it's not going to be long before I'm going to be wanting a big old plate of cheese fries, only from Outback. Not a sponsor, but give me a call.
Crikey, Ben. We got someone from Outback, yeah?
Gators are snapping already here at Hameen Media Group, man. Watch your back on the Crocs. Outback Ted's going to take us through the bayou today on a self-guided tour.
Bayou.
That's right. I got that. We got the
airboat for my hat.
Yep.
My hat here.
Yep.
I like your hat. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
You do look great. I think Tenelle Dashwood could use all the help she can get right now, I would say. And Outback Ted seems like a great backup to make sure her back is covered in the Outback.
Right. That's exactly right.
Hey, can you answer this for me?
I will say this, though. Sorry, I got to say, as we did see Tenelle Dashwood, she did make her debut, and she looked it was probably the segment that I would have to say was the fanciest segment of the show as well.
Well, it's Listen, I think Tanel Dashwood, I think Deonna Purrazzo was carrying on like a pork chop. And she just is mad as a snake. And I can't think of any more things Australian to say right now. I'm very upset.
But it was
you know what it was? I know the word I was thinking of. She was a bogan.
She was
the most unsophisticated of all the blokes in Sheila's.
Oh,
yeah, she was a bloody bogan, mate. That's exactly what
she wasn't fancy at her own fancy soiree, is what you're saying. She was a bogan.
Well, I have a question since we're talking about Australia. I mean, we got tagged on Twitter here. Did you see that lady getting harassed in her own home just from a Facebook post? It seems like Outback Ted, there's a lot of censorship of speech online going on in your country. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, you got to watch what you say. You know, myself, I just stay inside and I watch some footy and, I mind my own business. And if you do that, the police won't come and get you. But if you start typing on the internet, well, then the bobbers will come and get you, mate.
Well, conspiracy theory, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you guys will probably have some more in-depth conversation on it tonight on the conspiracy horseman, but maybe a little bit of a primer. What do you think initially what's going on right now there? And is this leading here? Is this a test?
Yeah, I think that everything is laying down the groundwork in the testing grounds there, because this isn't the first one we've even seen in the last 2 to 3 weeks, other videos, and it's going down in the UK. So whatever the New World Order is and they want to push it, they also fear Facebook of the unification of people, because why else would they be doing that kind of stuff if it wasn't for fear of being exposed? We also saw a Facebook notification saying October 1st, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other to censor your rights as we head into a madness.
Right.
So like people, I saw you wanted to unplug, which is good, Rib. You'll never fucking unplug. You'll be back on Facebook quicker than the Iconics are back together.
No, I'll probably do some secret profile I won't be friends with. You'll just see it. I'll be friends with you.
Yeah, good, Rib. So we'll definitely be covering the surveillance and police state as we do continue as you try and push people, but again, it's all an illusion because the phone you have in your hand is already listening to every word you say. You've had conversations in your house where you talk about the curtains that you want to change, and then within the next 12 hours, you're getting paid targeted ads for curtains or what have you. Or if you're on another website completely searching eyeglasses, your Facebook feed is loaded with eyeglasses ads for the next 2 weeks.
It happens everywhere. I was even during my South Park podcast, we just made something of a simple YouTube video, and within the next 12 hours, it was recommended, and I was like, "Oh, check it out." They were listening. Here's what they're doing.
I saw Frank's Pickle Barrel asses in the one of the Twitches, because we're streaming live for Switch It Up September at HMG and at twitch.tv/Horseman and at YouTube right now. So 3 plays for you to see us live. But I know that Twitch is doing a promotion for subscriptions this month. I think it's like 30% off subscriptions for Twitch. So appreciate that. You go to twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman. That we're all affiliated and partnered through that channel. So if you want to sub, that'll get you the signal flare when we go live at twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman for the Horseman tonight, or any of the shows that we got going on this week. Monday, Friday locker rooms. I got to talk to the Wednesday guys too about getting them on HMG. And anytime we go live, Impact Attack or Light the Fuse as well. So appreciate that. And why not save right here at the beginning of the month, save a couple bucks for the promotion, and appreciate all the paid subscribers. You get those extra bits, or you get the custom emojis and shit. I'm going to do more of those this week and have a good time with it.
Was that new one that's coming out? Is that specifically for Twitch, Hami Media Group, or for Conspiracy Horseman?
Say that again.
Well, we got an email in our Hami Media Group of an approval for one of your new emoticons. I don't want to stooge what it is yet, but is that going to be specifically for Conspiracy Horseman, or is that for your?
I think that was for HMG. It might already be on Conspiracy Horseman.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a dog. It was your dog. It was Bob.
Yeah,
it was awesome. I was like, that's so cool.
I gotta get him on. I got to get a better picture of him and make a shirt of him. Who knows how much longer he's gonna be around? He's an old boy. What's our preferred smiz, MSG and bin? I like flowers, something that's heady and keeps you up because I have a lot of work to do. And I really don't, I'm an old schooler, so I don't fuck around with all the new school stuff. Like, oh, I got to get this over that. But I don't know, that Gorilla Glue shit was pretty fucking phenomenal. Then I had that. And somebody brought me back some Death Star from Massachusetts and Kitchen Sink, which that is, I mean, it was good. It was just the opposite of what I like. It was just some couch lock, like you're sitting inside yourself, like looking around shit. But I'm all about flower power. But feel free to send it.
I would say, of course, for a number of years, I was flower power. I say now over the years living in Washington, because it's legal and it's easier to acquire, I just tend to fall more into concentrates now. It seems to last me longer. I can smoke smaller amounts and the effects seem to be more long lasting. I will say, though, it's hard to go back to flower because I had one of these, hippie dealers, excuse me, in Arizona. One of those guys, you got to go to a guy to get introduced type shit, right? I've been doing it for 50 years, never gotten caught. That's how good he is. But his shit was so good. And like after you smoke his shit to try and go back to even to other people's shit, it's hard because like I could sit in just his living room with him and take one hit from his bong and I would just get blasted. And I'm just like trying to like chase that high smoking other flower or with other people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I don't get into that because it's hard to get to where I'm at. So like, there's no sense in it, and
right,
I'm just old school, man.
That's why I just use the concentrate now, just for more medicinal, relaxing hangout purposes.
Yeah, who knows as I get older which way it'll go. Plus that smoke on your vocal cords when that's my money is probably not the wisest thing either.
Maybe.
Outback,
are you guys allowed to smoke in? Are you guys allowed to partake in any narcotics in Australia? Yeah, is that become legal yet?
Weed's not a narcotic.
Well, according to the FBI, it is. I mean, narcos.
Well, it's like this. I also work as a healthcare professional, so I cannot admit to any use of anything like that. But I say if I were to, I would be grinning like a shot fox for sure.
Oh, okay. Do you think after the little baby kangaroos exit the womb, if the moms wanted to, they could store, those type of flowers in their pouch? Is that something they could utilize it for?
That is actually exactly how we smuggle our Miz, if you will, around the Ausland. We actually use the kangaroos to hop around, and we will have them deliver back and forth, and it makes it very easy for the dealers, mate.
Makes a new phrase, jack of all trades, really means something.
And speaking of mate, did you hear why the wombat crossed the road? To see his flatmate.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got a couple stories here to start off with these guys. Of course, if you want to get more conspiracy information or just truth-seeking information, as we like to think, you can go to twitch.tv tonight/conspiracy horseman at 4:15 Eastern, as well as be on Ben Hameen's YouTube. And you can get all the information with Stevie Richards along with him, Greek God Papa Don, Big Sal, and whoever the heck they else feel like bringing on. I just got caught up on that Harlem Heat Blue WO episode over the weekend. That was a really good Conspiracy Horseman episode. So.
People say we're saying they enjoyed that one more than anything else. I was not shocked at Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat, man, and just great talk, locker room style talk of how the horse.
It was just real, like, and even more so. Like, and I'm not saying you guys aren't real in general, but you guys have your own type of chemistry where it's more fun and laid back. And when you're bringing on Stevie Ray, he's kind of more calm, cool, collected, but he's also staying the course of his professionalism, I think. So I think you guys were able to just kind of like sit back and just talk and give your thoughts and then move on. And I thought it was a really good show. I mean, you guys do that in general, but
yeah, well, that's a man that transcends a race argument and all that. That's just like, here's experience and knowledge, and you let him have his time because he's going to bring up so many great points that cut through all the bullshit and take it right to the mat on what the heart of the conversation is. That's really where he shines. And I think the fact that he was the brother in even though he's the older brother, bigger brother in the scenes of Harlem Heat, he wouldn't be the mouthpiece as much. And I think now it makes it even more captivating to really hear what he's going to say. And it's so high level, man. I think his family, just genetics alone, because the way Booker is and the way he breaks things down too, I bet they test at a very high IQ level, like almost genius level, both of them. Like if you were to test them acumen wise, bro, because the way they're able to frame their conversation and tell a truth and whatnot, it's just, I was in on the show, and I was just sitting there as a listener more than and as a fan of what was going on than anything, man. So definitely we're going to have him back as a regular guest. It's an honor to be working with such a legendary professional and being able to do those kind of things, man. So I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, guys, so come on back tonight, twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman for another fine, fantastic episode. You can also, of course, check out our sponsors, thebrosters.com. Pick up yourself a bag of Brosters coffee for only $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Boom, out the door. $20, got your coffee, man. So go get your coffee.
And we might be updating that this week. I got to talk to Steve and his lovely wife today about the deal for the $5 or £5 is getting done. It looks like it's going to be $75 for the bag and probably $15 ship. So $90 for £5, which is still saving $22 if you buy in bulk that way. So we're going to get that set up this week, and I got some other Dippin' Donuts promotions with them to talk out. So yeah, we appreciate everybody who's bought it. I know they sent Troy Broster's official shirt there too, so they were pumped that all you guys, Russo brand and Hami Media Group, have been such loyal buyers. Same with Zordos Olive Oil. The fact that we can take these local brands, international, national, and get those web sales. That's exactly what we wanted to do when we had the sit down meeting, and you guys are making it happen. So, and that just makes HMG that much stronger. You know what I mean? It's going good, man.
Well, also speaking of HMG Hami Media Group, guys, you can check out our second personal feed, HamiMediaGroup.podbean, or just search Hami Media Group everywhere. Now available, as well as Hacker Hami, on iHeartRadio. So if you have iHeartRadio and you like to use that as your preferred app, it is one of the largest apps used. I mean, as a board operator, if I'm looking for jobs, they're pretty much always hiring iHeart operators, part-time weekend operators in like every major metropolitan city. So definitely, if you check it out, we appreciate there. Share, like, follow. Also check out a brand new episode of Suck My Balls South Park podcast. We just reviewed part 1 of the movie. That's now up on Hami Media Group. And the Star Trek, Triple D Star Trek podcast, episode 2 is coming tomorrow. So check that out as well. All right. I got some stories here. First story, guys, is about Mauro Ranallo. He is apparently leaving WWE. He's gone. Mauro Ranallo, the energetic voice of NXT, I'm reading copy here on the USA Network, has potentially called his last wrestling match from the black and yellow brand. And then WWE released a statement by saying, WWE and Mauro Ranallo have mutually and amicably agreed to part ways. Mauro's passion and enthusiasm left an indelible and exciting mark with WWE and its fans. And we wish him the best in his future endeavors. I guess Meltzer was the first to break this news on Monday afternoon. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares what he has to say? But yeah, so Mauro Ranallo is gone from WWE. I think it's an interesting topic of discussion because you can take it one frame of where I've seen people talk about the side effects of having some sort of mental struggle, mental analysis, diagnosis of him being bipolar. I've also seen some people like, I just didn't like Mauro Ranallo because I always thought he was too high energy for me, just way too over the top. And his inconsistencies were a detriment to the overall voice of the show. So I get that argument as well. I would say personally, for someone who has bipolar, I think that he was in a situation where WWE has probably been more high tense and more rigorous than he's ever been in. When you're calling boxing and MMA and those type of fights, you're kind of getting to pick and choose when you get to do it. You show up for your one show for the night, and you go back home or you go back and do your other things, right? WWE, you're on the road or you're weekly doing this, if you will. So you're talking to these people on a weekly. He's probably having to deal with some people who are fucking with them and might not even be in the it might be behind your back kind of way, or kind of passive aggressive fucking with you to see if they can push your buttons. Because I know people do that to me all the time. And when they know I have bipolar, especially when I was younger, people would try to pass aggressively fuck with me by making snide comments or saying different things, or trying to get you to get triggered, if you will. So I could see how that can weigh on someone's mind. But I would also like to take away the fact that I don't think that Mauro should just like look at it and be like, oh, I can never work in this type of industry again. It's just it didn't work out in the WWE. I know I just said a lot there. This was kind of weighing on my mind. I was reading different comments like Mauro shouldn't be in the business, or good riddance, or if you can't handle it, get the fuck out. And I'm just like, dude, like, you don't understand. I don't understand, but you don't understand what it's like to work for a company that's an entertainment circus that's on the road every day or producing content weekly versus just showing up at your local news show or producing one live event every month. It's a totally different game-changing event. Anyway, Ted or Outback Ted or Dr. Ted, do you have any thoughts?
It comes down to it's still you always are having to play the political game too, and that goes in part of it. I'll say I've only briefly been watching the NXT product. I felt like he, I never had an issue with his commentary, to be honest with you, but I thought he gave it NXT its own distinct voice, and I think that aspect we missed, especially knowing that he's been around really since the beginning of it. But I think Wade Barrett also has a lot of good potential to bring his voice. I was going to save this joke for the Monday locker room, but I wonder how long is it until, are they going to have Wade Barrett? Okay, here's the deal. We'll sign you on, Wade, but you got to be the one to go tell Nigel McGuinness that we can only have one British guy. And then Wade Barrett walks over and says, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. That's it.
Oh, Monday morning monologue primer there for you. Monday locker room. Check that out.
Yeah, man. Barrett's back. Is that by design? Is it have anything to do with Mauro's bipolar? Like, did politics go down and take him out? Shout out to our new sponsor, Layfield Energy. Get all the Layfield Energy that you can have with JBL's Layfield Energy. This is what it is. You come in, you get tested. They find out you got a little thing. They pluck your strings. You react. Have a meltdown, the marks back you. They don't give a shit. They know they got you. Now you're paranoid all the time and fucking da-da-da-da. And when somebody wants to call in a favor to bring a buddy back, you're easily sacrificed. And the guy did bring a whole flavor to NXT that was better and different, and Joey Styles, and that's not what they want. I don't know why they want to water down these commentary teams and make them whatever. Not to say Barrett or Beth are bad. That's our OVW brother and sister right there. Same era, and I'm glad they have gigs, but like, this is all just a test and a failure of how this is them getting rid of him, going, got that motherfucker, thought he was over and was great. Could have done something awesome with him and made him the voice of our whole company, but he couldn't make it through our fiery hoops. So fuck that guy. He doesn't deserve to be here. And that's the best of luck in your future endeavors. Meanwhile, on the way out, Renee Young gets stroked off by everybody there fucking is before she goes to jump ship to AEW and get a job that's a favor, because let's be honest, she's god awful at everything she did in wrestling. They put her over like this is going to be a huge loss. She never added to a scene. She never really got it on commentary. That was just some Me Too movement. We need a woman on there fucking shit. She puts over how bad she is and even gets to go out there the next Monday and do it. The behind the Beyond the Bell or whatever the fuck those stupid things are where they put her and Satin on there. Instant fail. But let's pat her all on the back, everybody, as she goes to be a stooge and get a job because of who her husband is there. Like,
they should have left her on Talking Smack with Bryan Danielson. That was the best thing she was doing.
She's rotten.
I'm just saying that was the best thing she was doing, to be honest, in my opinion.
You like eating shit or you like eating diarrhea? Which one?
At that point, I don't eat either. I don't watch WWE.
No, you got to eat one. She's good. You got to pick which one.
I'll take the shit on Talking Smack and the diarrhea.
It tastes so good, doesn't it?
It's better than diarrhea.
It's a good show. It's a good show. Everybody did fucking awesome job. That's why it's so successful and so gripping content that everybody needs to see it. It's right up there with the AEW YouTubes where they fill in all the fucking storyline that should be on TV. Everybody's killing it, bro.
Well, there was a story I wasn't going to bring up Renee Young. It looked like she kind of felt slighted about kind of getting COVID. And then after getting COVID, she kind of got axed right thereafter as well.
Should have been fired a year ago.
All right. Well, that's the only story I have. This started off as a more Renee story and it turned into a Renee Young story, guys. That's what the type of great content you get here on Honey Media.
Look who they put on commentary, who has no chops, no resume. Like she did whatever sports in Canada. That was probably an affirmative action hire too, to get a woman from the sidelines on there.
She wasn't bad in Canada. I saw her Canada stuff for the sports. Okay. It was less produced, as far as like hokey schmokey. It was just more reporting news and blah 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 blah. So it wasn't that bad. I mean, anybody can do that with the right coaching.
If you have a job and you're on TV and the commentary wasn't that bad, we failed out of the from the start
for sure. I mean, she shouldn't have been in WWE.
That bad. Exactly. Never should have been, but gets the big pomp and circumstance parade on the way out, as opposed to this guy who is a unique talent, who is tried and tested through Bellator and every other goddamn thing, who knows every move in the Japanese name to the Frankensteiners, the difference of whatever. And that's the guy we fuck with and push out and don't put over. But these goofballs who never should have been in the business to start with get the fucking ticker tape parade. That was my entire point of that.
Right. No, I get it.
I have a question, a follow-up question on that, because there's been talk going around this past week about Renee Young. I saw even Booker T was asked this question. Despite all that, do you think she belongs in the Hall of Fame?
For what? Which Hall of Fame are you talking about?
They're asking if she should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
No,
she shouldn't even be a picture over the urinal.
She's gonna be though. She's the first woman ever commentator. That's she's gonna be. She's gonna be like Leela from that episode of Futurama, where she was the worst ball player ever, but she opened up the door for all the good baseball players. So like that's what Renee Young's gonna be.
No, she won't be. She'll be a marginalized footnote.
Well, so was Leela. So I guess there you are. After that, the other story I had here, let me pull this up here, was about Brock Lesnar. This broke right about after you guys got done recording. It was Brock Lesnar. He's become a free agent now. The Beast Incarnate is not currently under contract with WWE after his previous deal expired, and the company has begun delisting his merchandise from their official website. Mike Johnson from Pro Wrestling Insider notes that WWE have been attempting to work out a new contract, but the discussions have halted and the two sides have hit a impasse. Currently, he's still listed as a member of the Raw roster on the website. Blah, 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 rest of copy. So do you guys think that potentially, if you're Tony Khan and Eric Bischoff, who's maybe there, I think you got to get Brock Lesnar. That's got to make a move, right? I mean, that would be a shot in the war if they could get Brock.
Be massive. You imagine Brock Lesnar, Brian Cage face off? Look great, right?
Yeah.
Like, and now we're doing something. Hey, librarians, thanks for playing. We'll see you later. Hey,
bye, Brandon Cutler. You only got one contract now. Go back behind the camera.
Have fun being back in the club at the house party. Guess who's here at the house party? Brock showed up. Thanks for playing. Oh, you like to identify as one thing or another? That's cute. Back on the indies, you can do that because we need your money for Brock, because we're going to run a real company now. We're going to really try and do something. Welcome, Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The real winner in this is the real winner in this is most certainly Brock Lesnar, because really I think what it's going to come down to, I agree that would be great, but if Vince wants to pay enough money, he can keep Brock too. And I think it's going to come down to who's willing to pay more, because, Paul Heyman is still friends with Brock and he's very good at being able to finagle those kind of deals. And so I think he very well could end up in AEW, but if he does, it's only going to be because they were willing to shell out more money for him.
I bet Heyman would tell Brock, go do one appearance for $1 million, and that'll be enough to send Vince over the edge to do it, and then they'll bring him right back.
And you could even do it this way: if you're AEW, if you're going to really pay it and you want to put Mox over, well, they had the Mox versus Lesnar match at WrestleMania, which was horrible. Now you give him a good match and you put Mox over, right, as your champion, and then that pisses Vince off, and then Vince pays him a bunch of money.
You put Vince over, you put Mox over on
to make your champ, right? I mean.
I'm Brock. No way, bro.
You put Brock over? Because if Vince then makes the deal, then you're going to lose out on not having Brock, and then you make Mox look weak, right?
That's Khan's move right there. You got him. You bring him in. You strap him. Now he's got the belt. Will Vince pay enough to bring the AEW title, have him come back over? Chances are you'll get him for 2 or 3 more. You know what I mean? While he's your champ, if there's while you're trying to get things worked out. put the pressure on, like really fuck over Vince with it, like making him champ over Mox is what, like he ain't gonna make Moxley. It's not a real deal. You know what I mean? Like let him be the real shit, dude.
I don't know, Outback Ted. What do you think? How would you book Brock Lesnar in AEW?
I mean, it all comes down to the deal. I mean, if he's coming in for one appearance, you know, that's hard because you don't. I mean, I'd almost instead want to see him come in and wreck some shit and not necessarily go over on by long-term champions. That being said, if they can do longer term business, then I'd say absolutely, because you know that's money. Then again, it becomes to, well, who in AEW is going to be the one to take down Brock. So even if they got him for a handful of appearances and you had him come in day one, wreck shit as champion, and have him make a few more, and then at the end have someone go over on him, then at least you've helped to make somebody.
I get him for 4 dates.
Yeah.
Make him on the
you
first
could do it with that.
Yeah, make him on the first night, and then fucking the next 3 is a story to the build off. And it's not Moxley who takes it off him; it's Brian Cage. Fuck no, it's not.
Yeah, I agree. Brian Cage would be the
I mean,
that's the dream match.
No, I definitely get that. I was just thinking, if you were only going to have him for one night to try and make it, like from a backstory standpoint, with the history, with their conversations, you know, even with Mox not wanting to have that conversation with Austin on the WWE Network, there's so much history you could build on it, and intrigue that if Mox was to get his win now over after losing, then potentially down the line you could even then build to that third match. Because I mean, Lesnar's got one win, right? So I mean, if Mox got one, then they'd each have 1-1. So you
Mox
could either
draw, bro. Like you want. Bro,
I know, but that's how, I mean, Khan sees it like that. I'm just trying to see it from the AEW perspective. That's all.
Put it on the poster: Moxley versus Lesnar, or do you want to see Lesnar versus Cage?
Oh, I agree.
Lesnar versus Murder Hawk, or Lesnar versus fucking Brody Lee. Like, Moxley does not stack up as a money draw against any of those 3 that I just named.
So yeah, but maybe you think that, but maybe the AEW fans and Tony Khan don't think that. Maybe they want to play to their audience, I guess is my thought process.
You tell your audience what to fucking think. If you can't, you suck at your.
I think we've already gotten past that though. I mean, because they're already every brand seems to be catering to their audience and just not telling them here's what you're going to get. At least most of them.
How's that working out for?
It's not.
Well, there you go. Maybe we should stop doing that and do.
I agree. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with what your idea is. I'm just looking at how they're producing
and fucking undercut what I know is right for dumb fucks who don't have an idea of what I'm talking about and how to do business. I don't care if you own the company or if you're fucking in the stands dressed as Jesus and Scooby-Doo. You fucking don't know. You don't know. It doesn't mean that I now undo the proper way to do things to subvert and be like, well, I guess we'll do it that way because we know it's going to fucking fail. Yeah, that's a good idea. No, I'm not brainwashed like that. I'm not in the wrestling bubble, dude. I fucking see things with a clear vision.
No, I mean, those great points, Ben. I appreciate your insight. Ted, did you have any thoughts on this before we move on to Impact Wrestling review?
I think Brock Lesnar on AEW would be a bloody ripper, mate.
Well, there you go. Australians seem to like it. So shout out to our Australian people. Hopefully that we get a bunch of, I mean, we have Australian listeners. They're part of our 3rd or 4th demographic.
Not anymore, mate. Now that Outback Ted's here, we've lost them all.
God damn it. Brent Logan's probably going up. He's probably going to bitch in the Discord today.
I heard that Outback Ted is got an audition to be the new lead vocalist of Lethal Vendetta. So maybe we're getting the band back together with Outback Ted, and they're going to come back with their cover of A Land Down Under. So
I'm getting ready to film my new movie, mate. It's The Melbourne Identity.
Oh, nice. I like that.
It's going to be great.
No way Bell is bigger than Waimea, bro.
Well, Impact Wrestling, guys, last night, September 1st, 2020, previously on the episode, Rob Van Dam had faced Eddie Edwards for the title, came up short. Eric Young attacked him, and Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo went to war for 30 minutes. And tonight, we have the conclusion, for last night, the conclusion of this episode, for Wrestle House. This also set up Eddie Edwards versus Eric Young in the main event. But we start off with Sami Callihan taking on Rob Van Dam. They gave this match about 7-8 minutes here. I liked that Katie Forbes was in this match, and I liked that she used her behind a lot in this match. And this was my favorite match tonight. Thank you. Sami Callihan won. But yeah, I was just so concentrated on Katie Forbes. Everything's just, like I want to. It sounds like a sick idea, and I know someone's just gonna do it. But like, I kind of just want like a 2-hour YouTube video of her. So like, but I imagine it's already out there. Someone's putting it together. So I imagine I'll get my wish. Outback Ted, is this type of content censored in your country? Were you able to see Katie Forbes and all of her antics here?
Oh yeah. In Australia, everything is on the table, mate.
Okay.
You might as well just whip it out, throw it out there. We've seen it all.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there was, like I said, there's a lot of distractions from Katie Forbes. She distracted RVD for, long enough so he can take down Callan at one point. And then we also saw the conclusion of the match with Hangman Cutter pinfall. And then we saw Katie Forbes trying to distract some more. She kind of like did this thing where she like rolled into the ring to shake her butt and then rolled right back out. That's pretty funny. Anyway, Sami just let her twerk and then hit your maneuver. Sami, that's what. And then Sami win again. RVD countered into a sunset flip for 2 and reversed and got a 3 count. So the winner of this match was Sami Callihan. And then afterwards, there was a beatdown, as Katie Forbes and Rob Van Dam beat him down with the butt daminator and the Van Daminator.
I like this whole shit until that, man, because I felt bad because Katie fucked up right there, dude. Like Sami gets thrown is on the outside after the win. They got the high ground. Katie then jumps out in front of Sami on that same side and is standing there and burying him. Like, what's Sami supposed to do? Not like go kiss her or whatever, do something to her. Like that's just her not knowing, you know what I mean? I think, and being green and having intention, but like she could have got out of the side. But the thing to do when you're a heel is throw the baby out on, and this is usually in the match, not after, but it still would have worked here. You throw the baby out on one side and then you go out on the other because it gives you time to stalk around. You know what I mean? So he could have been jaw-jacking with Rob. She goes out the side, comes around, hits that corner. Sami then looks. She starts twerking or something, and Rob does a fucking, over that way. But as soon as she went out that side and closed that distance, Sami was buried instantly in that right there.
Yeah.
Dude.
The only thing I felt like he could have done is maybe grab her by the wrist, but Robert E's got to get there quick. You know what I mean? But you're right; it was on her in the first place. And there was also a moment earlier in the match when the referee caught her, and it's one of those situations where either she should have known, if the referee sees you, you can't cheat; you got to bail on the spot, or 2, the referee at that point should have told her to go to the back, and then she could have ran out at the end for the finish, because at that point you're either burying the ref or you are burying the ref.
She gets caught right there, and then she turns and does something super way sexy, over sexualized, you know what I mean, showing whatever stripper style, and the ref is awestruck, you know what I mean. Then you're doing a comedy spot, but that's the only other way, using her assets, that you can get that spot over. And that there should be plenty of spots like that for her and Rob to win in a gimmick way. But yeah, man, that was just some greenery right there. I was like, because I was into it, and I go, oh no. And I had a girl at where were we? UPW in Rochester, and this girl was a fan and putting over the boys, and big old gimmicks on her, big gimmicks. And there we were on the outside, and this was her second time at some indie show. And because I got all the heat, she wants to come over and I know if I do something with him, the eyes are going to be on me while we're managing. And like, she comes over and gets right in my face and shit. I'm like, you better get the fuck away from me, or I gotta knock you out right now, you dumb bitch. Like, talking through my teeth with her. And then my guy Cloudy he just turns to me and goes, what the fuck are you doing, you dumb whore? Get the fuck over in your fucking corner right now. And her face just dropped, bro. I go, thanks, bud. I didn't want to be that guy, dude, but Cloudy cracked whip there. And she was never heard from again on another indie show after that, dude. I almost had to knock this chick out in front of everybody.
The other part I was wondering too, do you think it was too much for Sammy to get distracted so many times? I understand Katie Forbes has the goods, but the other part of me feels like Sammy's character, at least from the way he's been presented, seems like he would be way too smart to fall for something like that.
Yeah, I think he got distracted a few too many times. Like, they should have tried a couple things on him, and like he moves, and then like a bypass where Rob trips and his face goes into Katie's ass while she's bent over the fucking railing from moving on something. Like they could have got away with comedy that way instead of making Sammy look like, why would he look over there? You know, he's beyond like the sexualization trap because he's already been doing the trolling of the Instagram pics and things along those lines. I think it was a little bit, they could have come up with a couple smarter spots to take away from that part of it.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. All that. It's good stuff, guys. Well, backstage after that, Hernandez beats Falaba in an arm wrestling match as we see Falaba dressed in some nice clothes for tonight's black tie event. But Hernandez says he doesn't want pesos. He wants American money. Then we see Falaba pay him. Reno Scum walks into the scene, shows up. And Thursto says that Heath isn't in the building. Luster says that they want all the money this time if they take out Rhino, and Hernandez agrees. Says that's a deal. They fist bump and they walk off. So that means they're setting up if they can successfully take out Rhino tonight, Hernandez will pay them a bunch of money. Then we go back from break. We're in a first Wrestle House segment with Rosemary, Taya, and Johnny E.
All right, I just got to time out on this because I think all three of those guys are awesome, Supermax and Reno Scum. But this is where Impact needs to stop going backwards because this scene was awkward and didn't work well. And it's like a number 3 version of this scene that we've seen through the weeks, you know, and this was like the most lackluster one. I really want to see it shot, especially if it's fucking Supermax, from that LAX cinematic style, because this scene would have been 100 times more powerful if it was him in there counting money and shit, or a poker game and these guys fucking get let in, you know what I mean, with the secret knock or some shit. It's things like that that take time production wise, but make all the difference in what was going to happen, because the Reno Scum Rhino match was my favorite match on the show, to be honest with you. Like, sure, Katie's easy on the eyes, but like talking about work and the story that was told, that one was probably the best, I thought. And if we would have had that LAX produced pre-tape to make it look better, it would have been even more awesome.
I'll say the vibe I'm getting from Hernandez is I would love to see him be the kingpin of an underground gambling ring. And part of that, because then all of a sudden that not only enhances his character, but now stakes on the show can mean more if someone's money is on the line, or someone bets a title shot, or they bet their gear or their car or their manager or their spouse or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different little games you could play with that, and it all ends up not only advancing the characters that are involved in the situation, but it's all with Hernandez until finally somebody says, enough of this underground bullshit. You've run my life with it, and now I'm going to, end it. And that could be a whole 2-year story arc that they could
even be putting pressure on guys to lay down to fix the betting odds and things like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Absolutely.
Like one of the rascals could get involved with that shit and get, put in a position like the Mexican mob does on people, where you're going to fucking do this and be a drug mule for us. And if you get caught and do 5 years, big deal. At least your family won't get killed otherwise. So, yeah, dude, I think all that's great creative. And Supermax is a guy, you can get it over with character. Look at the motherfucker. He's massive. Yeah. Like, you don't need to do nothing to get him over. And I think there is something there. They just need to add more production and time to it.
No, I agree. And if they're not going to use it there, I mean, I hope somebody from AEW is listening. You've got another kingpin in AEW you could do the exact same story with as well. A guy who likes money and is about He's all about power, right? There's a couple of different. I like that storyline in general. I'm surprised no one's really done it. So, like, I think they should be doing.
It just looked really good when they ripped off that Training Day style of the Mexicans in the hood when they drop them off there. You know what I mean? And everything looked like that. And Conan was running the meeting, and you know, Kingston and LAX were in there just playing cards, drinking beers and shit like that. Those first seconds of how the camera comes in and it looks different, that makes all the difference, man. Really does. And there's no reason to not do it here, except unless it's like, all right, we need to shoot this VTR and we only got 20 minutes. We got to go do this. Like, I get that. I've been in those situations. It's 1 a.m. after the show wraps and we still got 3 fucking things to do, right? Like, you might not get the lighting and the everything that you want from it, but I wish they would.
Well, they've got the lead guy and the guy who helped produce it now on AEW. So please give us something, for God's sakes. Well, anyway, back from break. We do get into something really good, the Wrestle House stuff. So we got Rosemary, Taya, and Johnny E. Bravo in the first segment here. Now they're all separately in the confession couch type of room where they're all sitting down on a couch. Rosemary starts by saying, as long as it takes. Taya says, now we know what that means. And Bravo doesn't know what to do. Rosemary says last week Bravo did what she wanted, but then Valkyrie made it clear that they have unfinished business. Taya's pissed that they kept the truth from her and betrayed her. And Johnny says that he realizes now how stupid he was. Rosemary says he thought he could keep the demon and Valkyrie both. And Johnny says he may end up with neither. Taya says that she's not leaving until she says they're leaving. Then they give us the opening. That was like the actual, I guess.
Dude, it was so good. The cuts were so good in between them to tell the story right away, to set it up. I was just super impressed right out of the gate.
Yeah, me too. It was good. And then the theme actually hits. The actual show starts. So then Alicia and everyone outside of Swinger's door telling him to pay up on his bet. And for those who are just catching up or may have forgotten, the match between Crazy Steve and Johnny Swinger, the outcome was the winner got to choose the loser's outfit. So Crazy Steve won. So he chose a new wardrobe for Johnny Swinger. And that was him kind of dressed up like an ICP clown, a sad clown. Initially, they tried to all get him to come out, and they were yelling at him. Kylie does suggest being nice. So Susie knocks on the door and says, please come out. We won't make fun of you. And he comes out. They kind of all do laugh at him. And then Swinger asks how long he has to stay in the get up.
Because he's like, I can't come out. Fritz and them will laugh at me. Like, he's talking about Fritz Von Erich and shit. And then even worker handshake that you guys won't laugh along. I mean, it's Swinger, man. He nails it.
So he says he's trying not to put him on the spot and he won't be a helpless bystander. Bravo shows up and he says, he talks to Dreamer and says he's been looking for him. He's not trying to put him on the spot and he won't be a helpless bystander, but he'll control his own destiny because he, of course, will be the special referee for Taya versus Rosemary tonight. So Tommy Dreamer set that up, placed Johnny Bravo as the man who has to make the final call. I like this whole introduction to tonight's segment. It's set up for a good story throughout the show. And we definitely know what the main story here, and that's between Ty and Rosemary. And they're going to give us some side stories here, stuff as well, which is really entertaining. But before we got to that, we did get to what you said was your favorite match, Ben, Reno Scum versus Rhino. So Reno Scum attacks Rhino because he comes right out, takes him down, rolls him in the ring, sees some chops, whips him around, get a leaping stomp. Luster lays some punches in, and then we go to break. And these guys just went back and forth, wrestled. As you mentioned, Rhino, though, got a lot of offense in. So it's about a 5-minute match, so it was nice and quick. And then we find out near the end as Rhino throws Adam into the corner, knocks Luster out, and preps for a gore. We see Luster tripping to him, pulling him out, and then all of a sudden, Heath jumps the guardrail, and he ends up being the cameraman. And then he slides in, hits a sling blade, rolls out, and then Rhino gets the pinfall. I believe it was on Thorsto for the win. So I'm going to tell you, the match wasn't bad. What happened afterwards with them hugging and then Scott D'Amore coming out to get rid of him. Like, it's so hard to go from like a really good Wrestle House segment that's like totally set up for your smart fans who get shit. And then we go right back into wrestling stupid like this.
Yeah.
Cause like, obviously he's on the fucking show. So I know he's hired.
Right.
I don't know.
No, you're right. Reno Rhino. I liked Reno versus Rhino. It was good. The Rhino's selling was awesome. His comeback, man, everything when he was kicking the shit out of him. Yeah, the run in and then the Demore stuff, we know is what, Wrestle phony at this point. Like, they tried to get him over as the one thing, and now we're back to this stuff. And this is when you got to go to plan B, because we didn't introduce it as plan A the right way and have a roadmap for it. It's kind of where you're stuck. I mean, it's mid-card gaga. It's always going to be that way.
Outback Ted, Dr. Ted, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, as we've talked about over the last few weeks with this, it comes down to identifying the character and picking the right character, and they haven't really done that with Heath. They tried to make him something he wasn't, and now they're switching it up, and unfortunately it's never going to be as, I don't want to say necessarily as good. It's not going to be nearly as effective as it would have been if they would have started off that way.
Yeah, I don't want to just shit on it, but I'm just saying it's
right. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that he won't be able to put out good stuff, but it will not be as effective because of what you have taught your audience, which unfortunately was just
the original pebble in the pond. The original pebble in the pond was not to make the waves that they are now, right? It's like, the story didn't start a certain way. We started a book, stopped on page 14, and we went back to this other book that we've read 20 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They played to the height of the intelligence of the audience, and then really just shat right back on us and gave us early 90s WWF.
And there was no way to get off that one highway and circumvent the business to get over there, to get on that other road that they decided they needed to go on. So you had to backtrack, start again, and now now it's like, okay, we were going to be into the 90-day journey, the future endeavored, what's he going to do journey, and now it's same old safe stuff,
After that, I liked this next segment with Moose. He's chilling when a monitor turns on behind him. It's EC3. He says EC3 goes on to say he knows what it feels like to have something stolen from him. He says he's always liked Moose, so he's going to give an opportunity to find an allotted time to claim what he thinks is his TNA World title. If he doesn't find him, title will be sent back piece by piece. He's been warned. And then Moose gets mad, runs out, grabs a guy. I like this next bit of this little detail here. He grabs a guy and says, "Where's EC3?" And he says, "There's a hostage situation." And he says, "Well, I think I saw EC3 on the other side of the building." And Moose runs off, and the guy takes off his jacket. And he's wearing an EC3 Control Your Narrative shirt on. So I thought that was a nice little detail there to end that scene. What did you think, Dr. Ted?
I thought this was good, but I hope they continue to play up that EC3 is masterminding things, like he has people that are working for him and things like that, versus it being just this will work for this particular segment, not follow up on it. So I think if they start implying, anyone could be with EC3. We don't know who is on his side. Is it security? Is it people backstage? Is it production? We don't know. But if it's just a one-off, then it's a situation. And I'll wait and see. But I hope they continue to play up that EC3 can move pieces where he wants to. And as we saw at the end of the show, it seems like he may have a little more of a plan than we may have originally thought. And so that was good, as we saw later, that they are implying that they are going to keep playing that up, and that he's a little bit manipulative throughout this whole thing, even more so than what we originally thought. So I think the pieces here can lead to something really good with EC3. And like I said last week, I now see, now that he has a clear motive, I am much more interested in where this goes going forward versus him just coming around being mysterious for no reason.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I mean, it was about taking the belt and erasing his past, right, and all that shit, and moving forward from there. So this is whatever. I could have used just more show don't tell on this show, because we got the promo last time. So give me the action. You know what I mean? But Moose, I thought, was a good weaving thread throughout the show, that he was on the hunt for it. And then even after we go off the air, skipping ahead, Moose finds the conspiracy theory room with the yarn, with the putting it all together, and now he knows where he needs to go. So I like that there were him making entrances and segments, shaking people down for information. This part with EC3 didn't advance the story a ton to me.
No. Well, after that, we go to a commercial. We come back, and I got the Good Brothers telling a story about New Orleans at a bar with Uncle Alan, which obviously is AJ, but I'm just a stupid fan. And it's so loud that he shouldn't be able to hear LG, but apparently Luke Gallows was snoring. This makes the people laugh. They're like, "Hey, you got to come hear this dumb story." Rascals show up.
Let me put over what this is right here. Like, this is a rib on the business that you wouldn't know as much because it's just that locker room shit. You're a dude working security. You're a fucking whatever.
Right. You're just laughing to get in on.
You're just putting it over and like, oh shit, no, he didn't. And dude,
whoa,
these guys in the locker room nonstop, and like guys will just be like, okay. And that's what it was supposed to be meant to be. So for the wrestlers, I don't know, maybe it meant more, but it pissed me off to have to watch that happening, which is what it was supposed to do. So it was effective.
It was annoying, so I'll give you that. Right? It was effective. I found it to be annoying. I was like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. Kind of like, oh, these guys are obviously trying to.
It's that Good Brother talk. It pisses me off. I remember when Kane showed up at 2CW, the first one of the times with Matt Hardy when he was being Matt Hardy's lackey, and he's putting together a match, and we're in the back, and he goes, and then Good Brother hits Bad Brother, whoop whop. Big Brother comes in, hits him with the, and I'm like, dude, Big Brother, Good Brother. I'm like, please tell me we're not doing this bullshit now. And then it just took fire, dude. And they called themselves the Good Brothers. And like, that just started as some little inside Northeastern clique shit to it's the new Carney worker talk. And it spun out into all this shit where the supermarks of New Japan and Bullet Club fans acted like they were on the inside because they got these little words and shit. Oh, turns my stomach, bro. I never want to be one of those guys in wrestling when, like, because I just know because I see fucking dudes in the locker room like, yeah, Good Brother, and then they look at each other shifty eye like, what a fucking douchebag.
Well, after that, the Rascals ended up showing up because they were told they need to hear the stories. Des says no disrespect, but they have a 2 prep for their match against Ace and Fulton. LG tries to offer some advice, but they exit gracefully as they continue to make the security guards laugh. Hell of a thing, guys. When we go back to Wrestle House,
in that weird feeling, that stupid put them over feeling.
Yeah.
Do you remember when CM Punk used to go to fucking 4th Street Live and then he'd dance around and act like he was drunk to like make fun of people too?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Things like that fucking just make you want to drop a motherfucker, bro. As a man, like that's like the lowest level of being a man, in my opinion. Things like that. I just don't hold much respect for anybody who does that kind of shit.
Well, back to Wrestle House. Johnny is now in a real rep shirt, and Johnny tells him to use the swingman discount charm to get 2 for the price of 1. Oh, that was great. Anyway, so Swinger says Kylie says he looks good, or she looks good. Cody and Jake give John E the first rule of Wrestle House: don't listen to the swingman. Larry shoulders his way through, and AC says he's been in a bad mood ever since he came out of Rosemary's Love Spell. The Deaners accuse Larry of stealing their beer, and they say they never got to ask Larry. They ask if he took the beer, and AC says they have a truce, but Larry cuts him off. No truce. Cody's hat goes back, and the two begin then brawling through this Wrestle House. I don't think this was a house, was it? I mean, because whoever's house if this was a house, this was a nice fucking house, bro. They had like orange spray paint everywhere. It was like great.
A museum, right? Like a modern art little installation place, dude, with super high ceilings. I was like, dude, I'd fucking like to rock out there. That's a dope spot.
That's what I thought too. So yes, the AC sent Cody into a wall. This was just more like a brawl than an actual match. They were just brawling all over, from throwing him into the wall, throwing him into poles. At one point, Cody and AC started playing a ping pong ball game. I like Tommy Dreamers. He walks into the scene of the what looks like their kitchen area, and he's got like a whatever he's drinking, and rather than yelling out match time, he just takes a drink and goes, match time. So I thought I liked that.
Did you get the ping pong joke or no?
No.
Okay, so in wrestling, when there's in a tag team match, or if it's just guys back and forth, fucking if you get on one, if you're in the middle of us and I'm on one side and Pete's on the other and he fucking punches you and you come towards me and I punch you back, that's called ping pong and the guy back and forth in the match. So
okay,
Wrestle House shit for wrestling.
They were literally using a ping pong. Got it. Okay.
They did ping pong, and then right out of that, he comes and gloms them. Larry D comes around and they're ping ponging them back and forth right after the fucking ping pong match spot as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that didn't get that.
Why would you know that? You should know that. It's for wrestlers only, or like that's just the thing that makes me go, mwah. Like that's playing to the height of the intelligence. It still works. It's still funny. But if the fucking marks don't get in, it's just for the boys. Now he's separated the layers and we're getting even more out of it,
Well, unfortunately, this ends up breaking down as Jake is beating on Larry in the rec room and then backs way up and charges in. AC shows up, asks him what's going on. Says Larry has plenty of time. Maybe he should move, but Larry is too blown up. So AC helps him.
That popped the shit out. So he's running at him, and they're cutting between the two with like to be a hero. Boom, back to the scene. He's cutting. You should probably move. But that showed how big the place was. Still running. 4 or 5 ridiculous cuts, and then they finally move him out of the way. Like, still running. That's good stuff, man. That is good wrestle crap of ribbing yourself.
Right. It was like it was very reminiscent. I'm sure it was based off of the Monty Python spot from Holy Grail. Like I popped immediately because it's like, oh, are they going to do it? And they did. It worked.
Good artists create, great artists steal and make it their own.
Yeah.
We ended up seeing Cody hit AC with the ping pong racket and start brawling with Larry, who sent Cody flying into one of the bedrooms. And then Larry says Cody's dead, and he crawls along until he finds a beer bottle under the bed. Larry says he has no idea where that came from, and Cody then hits the Daner DDT, only to have Larry slam him across the room. Larry gets up, and now he's Lawrence D, so call back to his previous character. He sprays some fragrance on AC. He's like, you need some ring rust, and so he sprays him some fragrance. So AC falls onto the bed, and he falls over, and then, this was great, I popped for this. Then Jake comes out, and Miss Fuji! And then he throws... got Fuji threw the powder in his face, and then Susie comes in.
Diener's take on finding the beer was fucking phenomenal.
That was good. Yeah.
Like how it changed everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You did take our beer. Then Susie comes in and she goes, "You guys broke the truce." And then I guess she had a Sue Young moment. We didn't get to see it. Showed or not telling, right?
Well, that's perfect because you made it as violent as your imagination can make it in your mind, and I made it as violent in my mind. We knew the game. We didn't have to see it because we see it in our mind's eye. That is perfect payoff. All we needed to see was what?
Oh, them all laid out, maybe?
No. Oh. They showed it to us. What?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that. I thought you meant like something
bloody
else.
Hand.
I'm sorry.
That's all we needed to see was the bloody hand. And we know in there are fucking 4 dudes that just got fucking annihilated, right?
Right.
By whatever thing. And then Dreamer with the perfect improv lights out button where I would hit the lights and the theater would go black says.
Tommy looks in, is horrified, and goes, well, I guess Susie's the winner. And then he raises her hand. No, and she's covered in blood, and then he runs away and says, "Oh, I gotta go. I got the runs."
Boom. We go back to the original fucking thing, bring it around, do the callback. I got the runs with her hand up there going, okay, lights. You're not going to edit at any higher point with the callback, with the psychological payoff, with everybody's story converging in the Venn diagrams, and then a fucking line it right there to like just stop it. And that wasn't even the end of it. Like that was, we could have ended really right there if we wanted to.
For the week, we could have,
the big scene coming, but great payoff in the mid-card story right there.
Yeah, if they wanted to prolong this even longer, they could have ended it. They could have drawn it out for another 2 weeks, just for how they ended this one. But you're definitely right. They do pay it off great at the end. But after that Wrestle House, now we got the tag team match of Ace Austin and Madman Fulton taking on the Rascals. This was a really quick match, about 3 or 4 minutes. Conclusion of the match, we see Wentz hitting a super kick onto an angry Madman Fulton. but Wentz pulls him down the ropes as he charges toward him and kind of falls out of the ring. Then we see a double team move on Ace, super kick, and a double stomp to Ace. Then Wentz dives on Fulton, followed by Wentz and Dez both trading dives back and forth on the outside to take Madman out. And then we see back in the ring a moonsault and Dez hitting the senton, spinning senton on Ace at the same time. So basically, Wentz does his moonsault off the top turnbuckle to the outside onto Madman, and then Dez hits the spinning senton onto Ace on the inside for the 3 counts. The winner of this match was the Rascals. Before we get to the extracurricular activities afterwards, did you like this match and how it played out between the two teams, Dr. Ted?
Well, once again, I'm still waiting on
for a hot tag,
the proverbial hot tag. Now, I will say Hans did send, and so I actually am going to award an asterisk hot tag to FTR. Hans did identify they technically did go into a hot tag spot, but the reason I'm putting an asterisk is hot tag still has to have that heat. And so there was 2 things.
We're talking about the video I posted, I responded to online.
Oh, no, okay. the one that you had wasn't. Unfortunately, that was not a hot tag.
Oh, I know. I was high.
Sorry. No, he had a different one. I think it was from Dark. They actually were wrestling Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr.
Okay.
The only thing is they didn't have. You got to have a heat spot, something that allows the heels to get heat. Now, the match itself was designed to get FTR over, so I can see why they didn't necessarily want to have to cheat to beat a relatively new or unknown, or they weren't really even a tag team. But the quote unquote heat spot was simply one of the guys when Brian Pillman was going for a leapfrog, grabbed him and spine busted him, and then they went into it. Well, there's no heat in that. And not to mention on the hot tag, instead of blowing a comeback like you would expect to see in a hot tag, they went right into the finish, which was fine. But it's still what I really want to see from a hot tag, and now I am getting nitpicky here, is I want to see the heels, one, have enough time to get heat, because they also really didn't have too much time to go into the hot tag. Literally was cut off the baby face, beat him up for a little bit, then they went to the spot. Well, that doesn't build up. A hot tag is built over time. And so I really want to see a hot tag built up and then done properly. And then the finish itself would have been fine, even if they went right into the finish. I don't have to have a comeback because someone else did send a really good comeback from Cesaro, but it still was not a hot tag because of just what took place to build up to the actual tag. When the hot tag happens correctly, people are going to pop. Now, they still popped when Cesaro came in like a house of fire because he looked great, but it still would have been better to have it be a hot tag. So, long story short, FTR gets an asterisk win for the hot tag challenge, but I still want to see a true heat in a tag team match be built up to a hot tag moment. So, I think continues.
And I think if I can break that down even more simple for the listeners, basically, guys, Ted would like to see a tag that means something, as in one team has done something or committed so much offense and cut down the other team so much that when they finally get that tag, it actually is a hot tag, right?
It's not hard to do. Just stop doing moves. Cut off the ring.
I mean, I really don't want to put myself over, but you can watch Mobile Homers or the Elite OVW because that's what we were prior. But we have plenty of hot tags on YouTube that you can steal my stuff. I don't care, but I just want to see a hot tag. Come on. I miss really good tag team wrestling, and there's some good tag teams out there, but it's like when it comes to the hot tag, it just
you're right. I mean,
for some reason, it just is not.
It adds more emotion to the match, Ted. When you're watching the match, even just as a simple viewer, when you're watching your favorite babyface tag team and you're waiting for the other guy to get in and you're like, come on, I can't wait for him to get in. And they're just cutting him down, his tag team partner, so much that when he finally gets in, you're even amped as the viewer to see him finally get into that match. So
it's one of two things. Either the tag happens on opposite sides of the ring where the most amount of space is and the least amount of threat, which again doesn't make it a hot tag, or even worse, the babyface will blow his own comeback and at some point hit a move and then go and tag his partner. It's like, well, who cares at this point? You took out the guy. You know what I mean? It's not as meaningful.
They don't let it sit and then I guess waft in the greatness of their hot tagness that they just completed. Well, post-match, I guess, is more of the story, right? The Motor City Machine Guns come out and say that the Rascals look great. Shelley says that they're not out there to steal their thunder or their lighters, which was good. And then that the Rascals had no idea that the Motor City Machine Guns would be coming out as their opponents at Slammiversary. And if they were, and they might have been better prepared, they might have had a better shot. Saban asks, of course, if they can party with them later. I liked, Shelley's line. He goes, well, it was just legalized in Michigan last year. So do you guys want to burn one with the Motor City Machine Guns? I like that line. And then the Rascals are about to answer, but Fulton and Ace attack. And then the Guns come down to the ring and make the save, and the baby faces clear the heels from the ring. So I get it's weird. I mean, I guess maybe from if I'm looking at it more from an analyzing perspective here, the business would be kind of a little wonky here, because are we going to get a tag match between the Motor City Machine Guns and the Rascals, or is it going to be a triple threat with Ace and Fulton? Am I correct in analyzing that?
I'd go baby and have the heels come in and fuck it over, and that's where you spin out from there into that. Like, go ahead.
Well, what I would do, and I usually don't like when it gets into triple tags and stuff like that. I actually think it could lend here. What I would like to see is use this, because Ace and Fulton didn't need to necessarily get the win, but if they are interjecting themselves and find, I think they should have the baby match, but Ace and Fulton make it a point to run in, and so they say, fuck it, let's make it a triple threat tag team match, and then you have the heels find a way to sneakily go over and steal the belts, and then over time you can build up their heat until you have a tag team beat them. Probably at that point I would make it the Rascals, because then that can mean more than necessarily the Motor City Machine Guns having it right now,
or we don't have any match at all and they all just smoke some weed and chill the fuck out.
That's true. But that being said, what I think may happen, and I could be wrong, is I feel like they're going to lead to looking like they're going to do the triple threat. But what team have we seen that is still around but not necessarily doing anything? Is
the North.
Well, no, the North, I feel like they have their own story to go, but the Good Brothers. And so unfortunately, I feel like they're going to interject themselves into the match and be the ones to take the tag titles, when in actuality they don't need it.
So you think this is going to turn into a four-way?
Huh?
Yes, it's going to turn into a four-way. Interesting. Okay. Well, after that,
I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but that's where I
hope
think
you're wrong
they
too,
may end
Ted.
up going.
I hope you're wrong too. Well, after that, we then get in a preview of Deonna Purrazzo and her, I guess you might say, the black tie event. As she's backstage, she walks up to Fallah Bahh, Gia, Gaia Miller, and Willie Mack, who isn't too happy with their outfits. She asks Kimberly if she's planning on wearing that, and she wants Lee to be her special guest. Deanna's worried that Grace may try to steal her spotlight, and that she'd rather be with Scum or with her. So Moose then interrupts her and asks if they've seen EC3. They both say no, and then Moose runs off, and then we go to a break. So just kind of setting up this black tie event and letting us know that Kimberly is going to be in the ring with her as the curator, kind of narrating this art, if you will. Well, Rohit Raju is then backstage. He's admiring himself in the reflection of the X Division title when TJP walks in, and TJP tries to talk, and Rohit gives him a mask, which then puts over Rohit's face. TJP says he's taking an opportunity for the X Division title. Raju says Chris Bay still has a rematch, and that opportunity is in his hands unless TJP beats Bay. And then TJP kind of does a Adam Sandler Happy Gilmore impression. I just may down by the bay. What do you say? And he announces that he's going to go he's going to go look for Chris Bay. Any thoughts on those two backstage segments or anything like that, Dr. Ted?
Deonna Purrazzo, I really want to see her get to know her character better. She memorizes her lines very well, and I'm sure she hit all of them last night. But nothing that she said at any point, and I know we'll get into the promo, made me care about her as a character, or really made me feel emotionally invested. And that's the shame of it, is because she's clearly can go in the ring. She's very talented. But when it comes to character work, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that really sets you apart and gets you over as a star, is the one big thing that unfortunately she's still missing. But she's still young. She has time to get it. I just hope that she can recognize it herself and find who she is. Like I'll say, well, we'll get into it later, but there was a moment in the segment that we're going to talk about where I felt like that's what I wanted out of Deonna. But this promo backstage, it was you could tell she memorized all of her lines and delivered them well, but I never felt the emotion behind it.
Yeah, these were bad scenes. I mean, Rohit wasn't bad by any means. And TJP played it slow. I would have liked to seen the setup with TJP and Fala beforehand where they go to handle their own business individually instead of them not being together. Let's keep those two tied, even if they're going to do individual things. Follow was fine, but then this Deanna walkthrough with a fancy walkthrough. She looks like $1 million, and just to do the classic, like they don't belong in my party in the ring. What a classy party in a wrestling ring! Like, we're back to wrestling bubble shit of like, what are you really supposed to be? You know what I mean? She should be doing things where a real artist is painting her nude. You know what I mean? And she's covering her breast and whatnot and cutting the promo in pre-produced things. You know what I mean? Along those lines, not things like this that are going to expose how green she is when it comes to character. She only worked the indies a very short amount of time with Damian Adams while he was training her, to be a highly technical, proficient wrestler. Learning how to work a crowd is an art unto itself. And then when you don't have a crowd, to respond to, trying to get something over on TV if you don't know how and what real acting feels like is business exposing bad. And when we go from something to a Wrestle House where everybody knows their character and it's produced to protect them and make them shine so brightly into a cold wrestling scene with green talent in a celebration around the ring, it went from bad to worse when it went from the phoniness of Deanna trying to be whatever with Candice LeRae. That's who it was, right? With her. Kimberly, sorry. I knew it was something like that. C&L together, K&Ls. Like that she's their curator. Okay, I'm with that, but we just established that in the scene before. Now they're sipping champagne. It feels thrown together. Then cue a brilliant promo from Trish Parker. Dude, the Jordan Grace promo was, you're like, could Deanna's be any worse? Hold my beer. I'm about to go out there. Like, couldn't be any more flat. And then trigger the third one. Forgive me, Outback Ted. But out comes, Emma, and she's about as lively as a 3-day-old corpse in what she's delivering too. Like, all three of them have no acting chops. They've obviously had no acting training, even though they come from NXT. It shows you how broken their factory system is because they don't have a character actor coach. None of them can even do a 30 to 40 second character monologue and make something believable and have stakes. We had 3 very amateur female performances here when it comes to being able to carry the ball storyline wise, character wise. The week before, they had a wonderfully built, brilliant wrestled match. That part, there's no problem with. There's a couple tweaks, but really excellent work. This is on a kindergarten level compared to their 7th grade wrestling.
Well, before we got to that conclusion, as far as the black tie event, we got the next, or the conclusion, if you will, of Wrestle House with Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. Just to read over the first part of the battle of the match, because there was some lines that was going back and forth. Rosemary's in the corner chilling, and then Taya talks some trash by telling her that to get out of the corner and fight her for her man. That works. Bell rings. Taya says she's not scared of Rosemary and calls her an emo kid that works at Hot Topic. Rosemary slams.
That was weird too, bro. I gotta stop right there. That was a bad move. That was a bad move for a heel. Like, that's if somebody came out on the mic and I didn't approve it. And I think she went into business for herself right there because she got caught in the scene, like not knowing what to say right before the match. I'm face to face with Piper, and Piper fucking reaches up and pulls my head gimmick off. Now I'm fucked. Like, what do I do? Come back and punch Piper in the face right there because he made an audible call or whatever. We get to the back. He goes, I never should have taken your head gimmick off, dude. He knew in the moment that he had fucked up, right? Roddy Piper's telling me this. Like, same as Katie closing the space on Sammy, right? So even a guy who's been at the fucking legendary status knows that he fucked up and took away the power that I had right there. And I got bitched a little bit because I should have come back or do I, because I knew we got more in the scene to do. So her saying that what do we believe Rosemary to be?
A hot topic, the emo kid.
Oh no! But like before she said that, in our mind, what is Rosemary?
She was a demonic, crazy, cool chick.
He's like a legit demon who can soul fuck and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Her saying that just took her from that, killed all that reality that we believed in, and made her a hot topic emo kid at the mall. And she really doesn't have the power to put spells on people. Her soul sucked. Like, I bet she felt bad after. I'm surprised that line stayed in there. Like, they probably couldn't do the cut in the match, but I bet she had remorse about saying that improvisation there, because she took away the reality that we've been trying to build when she said that.
What was the line again?
That she was just an emo kid who shops at Hot Topic.
It works at Hot Topic, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, that sucks. I felt bad for her saying it, because I knew that was a mistake, and so did she.
Well, Rosemary follows that by saying Slamtown is a cesspool of imbeciles, and then Taya slaps Rosemary, which turns her slap back, and then they actually kind of start this match. They go back and forth, and but I guess you might say the conclusion or the big story here is that Johnny Bravo does have to count 1, 2, 3 for Taya. As Taya charges in, drops a toe hold against the turnbuckle. Rosemary charged in, Taya moved, and then she hit the road to Valhalla for the 3 count. So this is a 4-minute match. It was really short. But then after the match was the big story, which leads to our conclusion here of Wrestle House. So Taya refuses Johnny's hand it, as far as, him raising her hand for the victory. And then Bravo helps Rosemary up. He asks her if she's okay. She says she's fine. But, he did the right thing and called it fairly. She says that they can all go home now because there's nothing left to be done. Bravo says there's one more thing left to be done. He bites into an apple, and then he proposes. And Rosemary is confused and says that they lost. Bravo says he's still Taya's manager, but there's no conflict of interest. Rosemary then looks at Taya, and Taya says she's okay with it. Bravo proposes, and then Rosemary says he does know she's a demon, right? Bravo says that that's what he likes about her, and she says yes. Aw, everyone says aw. And then Swinger's mascara is running. He's so happy. That was funny. Kylie calls it the sweetest thing they've ever seen, but asks if they can finally go back to the impact zone. Rosemary says that's a question for Taya, and Taya says, yeah, let's get out of here. And Cody asks how Jake's doing, and Jake says he could use a beer. They ask who took the beer, and Steve says on the confessional couch that it was him because he couldn't read the labels.
Dude, all we needed was a Sandman sitting on the couch and then a burp, bro. Nobody need to say that. Ted's idea was 100 times better. To have a Sandman fucking cameo would have been phenomenal right there. When I saw that, that was the only thing that hurt me in this. Like, really, I was like, because what we had laid out was so good, to just do like the big whodunit mystery with the conspiracy theory, to like just be like a happenstance. It was me the whole time, as opposed to one big like, oh, fucking Sandman. Like, dude, that would have been that. Like, even if Dreamer goes out and hits the garage door and the thing comes up and he's been sitting in there and there's beer bottles all over the floor, you know what I mean? Show don't tell. That's all we need, dude. Like, it's small things like that that make all the difference, even though this is great.
And then you could have had the scene at the end when they all disappear and Tommy's like, wait, one more thing. And then, then that's when you see the garage open, the beer bottles fall out, and they're like, I guess it's just you and me now, huh?
Yeah.
Or so, you know what I mean? And scene. And that's
sure. I like how they all get teleported, you know what I mean? That it ends, and they did something fun that way to even bring them in the ring later. Let me run this by you though. 2 things. I thought Bravo's married with kids. Maybe he's divorced now. Was that a shoot proposal? Because that was kind of a weird twist to the scene. And then they asked Taya Valkyrie for her permission, and she says yes in the sweetness of the scene. I don't think they needed to ask the permission, because it's the coming to the reality of that Johnny Bravo can have all of their career, right? Like, that's the whole real it of the scene. Then he's going to go regardless. Need to ask.
Hold up, Ben.
Sorry,
you're breaking up there.
I was breaking up. Check.
Yeah, pretty bad.
They don't. Can you hear me all right now or no?
Yeah. Your video's still a little bit laggy, but we can hear you fine.
They didn't need to ask Taya there. What needed to happen, what I think, what do heels need always?
Heat. And you make your heat off your beat.
So so Taya didn't have any. She gave her heat up there for the moment of the scene. Should have been him with the ring out. She's about to say yes. Taya comes up and kicks his fucking hand, and the ring goes flying that way. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever gonna do it. Like Cruella de Vil doesn't have a change of heart after killing 101 puppies, and I mean, like, I kind of feel bad about this. Like, like that was like a part of the scene that either didn't need to be there, or the character should have stuck true to what it was, not had a moment of empathy.
Well, I'm hoping on a future episode of a Master Shoot now we get Vince McMahon.
Yeah. I will say I did like
he's the man with no pants. Takes his pants off. Now we'll see.
Puppy pants, pal.
Yeah, puppy pants. Yeah.
I was gonna say I did like at the end of the segment, because this is an inside thing, probably most viewers wouldn't know, but I like they did the riff off the "Whoa bitches" thing. It's or they said they were saying "Wrestle House," but it's one of those things for at least some of the women. It really isn't. They don't do it anymore to OVW. Back in the day, like with Beth and ODB and Katie Lee and all of them, like the women would always come together for their matches, and right before the music would hit, they'd all go out there to work. They would put the hands down and go, "Whoa, bitches," and then they would go do the thing. And so the wrestle, that was exactly the way they do it right before they go out there. So I thought that was a nice little touch. That it was like, okay, that was one of those things that, like, I wonder how many people really got that, but that was a nice little touch, I thought, at the end of the scene.
I agree completely. The big thing here, man, the big takeaway is there's a lot of indie workers that are at Impact now who paid more than their amount of dues and driven more than their amount of miles and been fucked over left, right, and center. And now they can rest their head at night knowing that they will go down in history as having made something that will last in the legacy of wrestling till the end of time. And not only did they half-ass get it over, they fucking smashed it, bro. As far as the scene work goes, the callbacks, people's characters fitting together, showing that character is the most important, and that even in the match, the characters and what their stakes are dictate doing the business for the storyline. It might be ridiculous, it might be funny, but at the end of the day, I couldn't take my eyes off of any segment last night as they all started colliding and paying off the business that we had been set up for. And people like the Deaners, Triple XL, the girls, everybody played their part to the fullest. And they should be proud of what they put out there, man.
Yeah, I liked it too. And it ended, as you guys mentioned, back in the ring with the Wrestle House, people locking hands. And then Susie tells Tyra, you finally found a group bonding experience that works. And then they all say Wrestle House and teleport away. So I hope that they do bring this back again in some form of iteration with new different players. I think it would be fun. But then we go to the break and we come back. Now all the, I guess not all of them, but there's a good amount of Impact stars or whatever you want to call them around the ring for Deanna's celebration. Kimber is on the mic. Thanks everyone for attending. Says she's proud to curate the event. She introduces Deanna, greatest technical women's wrestler in the world and the Impact Knockouts champ. Champ comes out, lets Trey hold open the ropes for her. Deanna takes the mic. Thanks everyone for coming to commemorate her win and for becoming the first Iron Woman of Impact Wrestling.
This is killing me. Even to hear you read it is brutal in my fun. Not because of how you're reading it, to relive it. She comes out, says some shit that's meaningless in a middle school play way in a sexy black dress. Out comes Jordan Grace in jeans with her gimmicks out, delivers an equally terrible promo that means nothing, only to get cut off by fucking Emma, who comes out and delivers a promo which pretty much says, "I have sunglasses and an Australian accent. That's why I should be taken seriously."
What more do you need, mate? What more do you need?
Well, hold on. Well, at least let me tell the end. Then it's right at when they're all arguing and shouting at each other. The Wrestle House cast teleport in, which was awesome. This production and the production and the morph was great. How they just kind of came right in, and because that's from a production standpoint, that's not. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's easy in theory to do, but the actual production of it is a lot of work itself. So I like this. And then of course they're back. Kylie and Kimber are arguing, and then Deanna basically gets super kicked out of the ring with Susie helping Kylie. And I guess now Kylie's going to finally get her top title shot against Deanna. So that's how it ended, guys. That's how that culminated. As Ben mentioned, he was not too happy with this scene. Dr. Ted, what did you think as far
Until
as
that saved it, because they set the bar so low, anything that would have happened at that point was great.
Well, what did you think of all this, Dr. Ted?
Well, I think it was about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike, perhaps as useful as tits on a bull. This has been laid out. I mean, Ben laid it out in such a way that, hell, it stands out as obviously as a shag on a rock.
It was the opposite of how fancy we had it intended it to be. It was unfancified, you know.
It was unfancified.
Yeah,
Bogan for sure. No, and the part that I'll say at the very end when Deanna had her freak out moment, that was the most character and the most emotion I've seen from her. I would have, if I was a producer trying to get more character out of her, as soon as she walked backstage, I'm like, we're putting you in front of a camera. I want you to keep freaking out. We're going to do promos. You're going to watch back about how much more emotion you can do right now versus memorizing your lines. You know what I mean? But at that point it was too late because we didn't have the emotional investment because of the rehearsed lines in the earlier part of the promo. But if she can pull that emotion she had at the end into more of her stuff, then I think she can start to get somewhere with it. But unfortunately, most of it was the rehearsed, memorized lines. Again, I'm sure she hit every line great, but what emotional investment are you allowing people to make when they watch you?
Do you believe that she believes she's a masterpiece? Like I need show don't tell things. If you're gonna say Da Vinci, Leonardo, or Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt, and compare with the name Perazzo because it does sound artistically masterful, well, then we really need to have pre-produced segments that put that kind of stuff over, and not little things like, you're my museum curator now and we drink champagne waiting for the next musical cue and the musical cue after that to round out our women's division. To do it like that's just wrestle crap. Like that's just like wrestling cookie cutter stuff that you're going to see at every indie show, man. They put the investment in her, and there's opportunity to do stuff there. Let's do high level shit.
How much of a nerd am I that when she started, she said Leonardo, Michelangelo. I was like, Ninja Turtles, and then like she said something else, and then I went, oh, okay, she talked about artists. Okay. So up next we have the main event, but before we have the main event, they go to backstage with Brian Myers. We've got Gaia, and she asked Myers about his win over Willie Mack last week, and he says Mack tried his best, but it didn't work out. However, he's going to offer Mack a huge opportunity because there's a time-honored tradition in wrestling of a handshake. Myers will offer him the chance to do so in the ring. However, before we can continue, Moose comes in looking for EC3. Says, have you seen EC3? And Myers says he saw him down the hall and says, Moose says, thank you. I thought this was nice of Moose. Generally, he doesn't say thanks. So he's like, thanks. And he walks off. But then Myers gets upset and he complains, I'm in the middle of a promo here. You're thankful? So a little bit of passion there from Brian Myers. I'm professional, I think is what his catchphrase is.
Think they'll have a match next week, or they're going to stand the hunt? Because I was like, why are they sparking that off if they're not going to pay it off?
I don't know. I think they're still going to go with this Willie Mack, Brian Myers handshake thing next week.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, did this do anything for you for Hawkins Beast? Like,
it was the most professional thing he's done since he started. It's still miles away from what I would like to see, but at least he played up. You're unprofessional. You interrupted my promo. In a sense, I thought that was a step in the right direction of where I've said I wanted to see Brian go and play up the professionalness of it. It's still, again, you played to the height of it and turned the volume all the way up to 10. And this was better, but I'd still maybe say it was a 3 or a 4 compared to the 1 or 2 he's been the last couple of weeks as far as character goes. Because really we haven't seen much of any. So this was, as far as being the professional character, at least a little bit of a right direction step, but still miles away from what I would like to see him play up being the professional wrestler. You know what I mean?
What other things can we do to show him as a pro where people violate locker room code?
Maybe like you have an indie wrestler who comes in and doesn't give him the handshake or something like that.
Like someone just walks in the locker room and sits down.
Yeah,
sits down in his chair.
Yeah, or you could do it the other way to get a kid over who's in there, gets up and gives him his chair, and he's like, "Thanks, that's professional." And when puts it over that way of the small things that aren't. And then when he sees somebody else who's drinking a beer before their match, he just looks over and is like,
"Not professional."
Not professional. You know what I mean?
That of itself would get over. Like if he didn't do anything else except for whenever something crazy went down backstage, and it happens a lot on Impact, it'd be like the Ron Simmons Dam. He just would pull over, and then Brian Myers just disgusted look on his face. Unprofessional. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that would get over.
So I'm just thinking, what's the laundry list of things we can show to do both? You know what I mean? And put that over. So
Rascal smoking weed backstage. That's an easy one. Yeah.
That way, absolutely.
Not showing up on time to the venue. People not showing up on time to the venue. Being a big star.
Rohit Raju polishing his belt. Professional. You know what I mean? You know,
professional, unprofessional. Like you
he's walking in the hall. Like you do a Rohit scene, like he leaves, he's walking by in the scene. You just stop, look. He looks up and down. He's polished it. Professional, and walks.
Right. Or if they want to go cheap, he's in front of a green screen. This is Rohit Raju. This is professional. This is blah blah blah. This is unprofessional. Right? You do it that way.
So whoever floppy even looks fat guy wise, you can look him up and down. Unprofessional.
Right. Follow Boz eating before a match. Unprofessional. Got food all over his mouth.
Absolutely, along those lines, and just make you feel like shit with one check you up and down, and then that can lead to the heat of the match right there. You know.
Huh? Well, back from, as we mentioned after that, then we go Madison and Matthews hyping up the next week's episode. So it's going to feature another locker room talk with Kylie Ray and Susie. Chris Bay versus TJP, which is, I guess they're going to dub this as a #1 contender match. And then Impact Tag Team Championship match with Motor City Machine Guns taking on the Rascals. So maybe to your credit, Ben, that is where we're going to see the interference of Ace and Madman. And then maybe to your credit,
you might even see the North run into Impact likes to overbook and then overbook again.
Well, to that point, I was going to say then to Ted's point, then you might even see the Good Brothers running after that too, right? To take out Ace and Fulton. So
you might see all of them in a big tag team melee, and then we go into War Games.
Right.
Yeah. As to keep in mind, we still got over a month to build to the pay-per-view. So certainly we could see stuff like that going. I wanted to touch on the Brian Myers professional thing real quick again, because the other part of that is such, like we talk about people taking advantage of opportunities to brand themselves and you know, be able to make more of themselves outside of wrestling, like branding himself as the professional. Like I just think for a brand, like having sponsors and stuff, like the professional brand, like there's so much to that. There's so much money in that. And the sad part is I don't think he sees any.
Well, he's got Wrestle Pro too. That's his fucking company, him and Buck, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. It's right there. They definitely need to push it a lot more. And I think Kevin Matthews is a part of that too. That'd be a guy to bring in and put him with. And I know Kevin's in really great shape right now too.
Yeah.
I'm getting feedback here. I'm going to jump out and jump back in.
Okay. Well, while Ben jumps out and jumps back in, we can move on then into the Impact World Championship match between Eric Young and Eddie Edwards. So Young starts out by, they kind of did a promo earlier where he was wearing this mask, but he comes out wearing this kind of like a faceless mask, if you will. The bell rings and the guys just go back and forth. You know, it's a good wrestling match between Eddie Edwards and Eric Young. These guys have obviously, you know, worked together before in the past, so they know how to work each other. But shockingly, they decided to make the title switch here on Impact as Eric Young picks up the victory after about, I think it was like 10 to 15 minute match. We do see the conclusion. We did see Eddie hitting the Tiger Driver, but only got a near fall. They were kind of slow to getting back up. Eddie's was limping, I guess, because, you know, Eric Young was targeting his legs throughout the match. He called for the Boston Knee Party. Young rolled out. Eddie then went for a dive, hurt his knee some more. Edward rolled Young back in. Again, he was slow to get back up, and then Eric Young grabbed the title. Ref got it out of his hand, which was a distraction for Young to grab his mask and waft Eddie Edwards with it. Then he hit a pile driver, and he got the 3 count. Dr. Ted, what did you think of this title change here?
You know, I actually was okay with it because I'm always big on it's all about the chase. And when you're defending the heavyweight title week after week, after a while, one, there's only so much you can do and so many big matches you can have. And number two, after a while, it starts to demean the title. If we're seeing a championship heavyweight match every single week, then it's not a special. You know what I mean? So I actually think it was a good call to we didn't continue this weekly title shot thing, because again, after a while, it does start to demean those championship matches. And now that we have it around a heel, we can build a chase to the title match. The thing is, from the very beginning, the intensity was good, but as soon as Eddie Edwards walked out and turned to the camera to pose, I was out of it. So it was like all that, like in my mind, again, like last week, if we would have seen Eddie Edwards as a man possessed, and then he comes out here and Eric Young, instead of standing in the ring, takes a powder, and Eddie Edwards, they can still get their glory shot with Eddie Edwards just looming at Eric Young and just staring him off. And you get that beauty shot where you can say Eddie Edwards champion, whatever, instead of Eric Young, the maniac that we've established, is behind him, but Eddie Edwards is going to pose and look at the camera and give a little nod. I mean, just the little things. But as soon as he did that, I was like, well, I'm out of it. You know, it took me, you know, and to think it's one of those things that, again, maybe not even consciously people realize that, but the subconscious and unconscious minds of the viewer immediately, they might not have consciously thought I'm out of it, but all of a sudden you're not as emotionally invested, you know, and again, the match itself was fine, but as soon as he did that, it was like, it
should have been the charge down to the ring
and the context away. And
he just charged right down to the ring, because that's what he wanted to do last week, right? Or the week
and
before,
then that's where they still could have done what they did. Eric Young could have powdered out of the ring and just been like, ha, ha, all right, you know, hold on, you know what I mean? Like he's playing up exactly where he wants them, and then you go into the rest of the shit. But because of that one thing they did, my immediate thought was, well, the emotional investment's gone at this point. At least
or it would have been better if maybe he just attacked him during his entrance, right? Because at this point, Eddie Edwards doesn't care about the title; he just wants to get his hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben, is it a coincidence that within 1 week of Brody Lee winning the championship and stopping his weekly, stopping the weekly TNT championship open challenge, that they've done it here on Impact as well?
I'd like to think that, but the way things are being taped with Impact, I don't think so. So.
That's fair.
You know, there's just that real coincidence there, I guess, really. Man Beast's 100% right. As soon as that happened too, I go, he's a guy on TV. He's not really pissed at him. I'm on a TV show, Mom, and I work a lot of shows with Eddie, and you know, he does what I don't do. I think there's more money on him in that wholesome American boy than there is the Psycho story, but he did a good job with the Psycho story versus Sammy. And here we have another one. Why isn't he into it as much? You know what I mean? Why doesn't he's already done it once successfully. To do little things like that. This is just going to sound asshole because Eddie's been on TV a lot longer than I ever was. But this is bad indie like habits of not knowing how to do character. And even in ROH, they used to let him and Davey do these 10-minute promos that were pre-tapes, and it was just all plot. And it was so bad that he doesn't know, I don't think, how to be a character in the moment and be reacting of what is my character feeling right now. His character definitely wouldn't be feeling like, hey, I'm on TV as the champ, everybody. It's, I'm going to fucking end your life, and I don't care if the cameras catch it. I don't care if your mom's watching, whatever the fuck. Like, they're just a man possessed. And as soon as you break that reality, you've broken the fourth wall, and it shows that you're not believing in what the story you're telling us. So we're automatically disconnected. And I see, and I'm not just putting it on Eddie, I see the same shit out of that entire generation of guys, from Seth Rollins to Moxley to fucking Eddie. And there's more that I can name, who are great workers, look like studs, and are sexy enough for TV. But when it comes to the true nuts and bolts of being a professional wrestler who knows their character, knows what that character would do every moment that the camera is on them, they are all very, very amateur a lot of times, week in and week out with their choices.
And the thing is, it could, I mean, such small choices could have made this so much more. Like we talked about when Eddie first won the title, you know, prior to that, he was, you know, kind of psychotic, and all of a sudden he wasn't anymore. But it would have been just a simple line or two of him saying, you know, I thought I was losing my mind, but I've realized this means everything. I feel whole again. Okay, now we realized, okay, that's why he's not crazy, versus saying, oh, I guess he was crazy, now he's not. You know what I mean? And then the scene last week could have been the turning point where we see a little bit of the psycho Eddie Edwards come back because Eric Young pushed the right buttons, and that was the catalyst that Eric Young needed to end up getting the Duke here. You know what I mean? And those small choices could have been so much more meaningful for Eddie Edwards as a character if they just would have done those little bitty things, you know.
And why did they take him off it? I got to put this out there. It might not be a storyline wise. Eddie might have been hurt in that last match, or there could be, reasons why they did the title switch right there that needed to be done where they might have wanted to do it. And sometimes your business just gets shotgunned, and they thought it was better to do it right there because of whatever circumstances may lie ahead for them. Sometimes as a wrestling booker, life just dictates those kind of fucking choices, right. So
hopefully not
that Eddie or Eric don't deliver in ring or whatever. It's just those small character things, those choice moments, they mean everything to the story.
Right. So after the match, Young chop blocked Eddie, went for a single leg submission on his injured knee, and then security broke it up as Young walked off with the title. And it looks like that's how we're writing Eddie off TV for a little bit. He's going to have some sort of leg injury. The show ends, but then we do get a post-show stinger with Moose bursting into a room, and he's confused by what he sees because this is supposed to be EC3's locker room. So he says, "What the hell is this? You got to be kidding me!" And he sees like what would be set up of a typical stalker conspiracy theorist with the drawstrings and the pictures, tracking Moose's every movements from had pictures from when he's in the NFL to this picture was just taken today. And, he's going to the grocery store, just pictures up there, he's doing laundry, all these, the detail they put in the pictures I did like. And it all leads apparently to one place though, which looks like it's like somewhere tracked in the Carolinas. The pins weren't in Florida, so it looked like it was somewhere tracked within the DC Carolina area. And he says that it all leads to one place. Moose then gets upset. He rips all the boards down, and after he rips them all down, on the whiteboard behind it, there's 3 pieces of paper that say "You have been warned," and that is how Impact Wrestling ends. I like this stinger. It was a nice touch in the show.
It was very good to wrap up all that work that Moose did throughout that.
Yep.
This is the type of formatting that makes a wrestling show from front to back while you're watching a story interesting. And even after we get a payoff of the show and they roll the Impact credit, and then we come back to it for that last, like, you've seen these on your shows before, like the hook for the next week at the end of Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad or something like that. Shit is great. I think that's a phenomenal writing choice to do those.
I say the vibe I got was like, and you're right, just like one of those shows too. But I know it's also very big in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like they'll always have the teaser at the end, the one more scene that makes it realize, okay, that's going to have some meaning later on. You know what I mean?
The hottest adult animated show, Rick and Morty, always has a post or after the credits. Well, like everybody does it.
What do we expect for next week? What was the last thing we were left? Moose just said what?
He knows where he needs to go. So it looks like
we have a location shoot where Moose is searching him out in a warehouse or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Right. Maybe it's ROH. Maybe that's where he needed to go, and maybe we will have the ROH.
That would be interesting. That was maybe that's what was on the map.
Right. Could be. It could be. And if it is, bravo to those gentlemen and doing that kind of stuff. Just as WWE can fuck up a wet dream every week, from Retribution and what they could be doing with mock kidnappings and whatever, and Raw Underground already fucked in the water because we don't even state what the rules are or what it's about. These guys pulled off massive pieces of artwork in the last 2 months that will resonate through wrestling history, and only 140 to 160,000 people are seeing it, and it's 10 times better than the work that AEW and WWE are doing on a weekly basis, getting millions of viewers. That's tragic, but at the same time, forget about the numbers. The people involved in the cast will now be a tighter family unit for the rest of their lives because they made a true piece of art by committee, and they should all be very proud of that because they cemented their legacy until the end of time based on the work they've done.
Anyone that is a content creator of any kind of content wants to create something that the word used in the industry is evergreen, as in someone can go back years later and watch, and it's just as good and just as contextual then as it was at any other time. And I think this was a piece of work that, 10 years from now, if someone watches Wrestle House for the first time, you don't necessarily have to have an understanding of the characters because they give you the context. And this allowed a lot of the characters that didn't have a lot of context previously to start building some context around them.
Yeah, Larry D and AC.
Yeah. And
Johnny
so,
Bravo was very believable too. Johnny
right.
Bravo had kind of the most silent but hard part, right? He's the pinnacle of the scene. He's the C player. So what he says is a crux in the background of the scene, but it's really all about him. You know what I mean? And the coming to light moment of not being a kick around, being able to have a life, almost similar to what's the Kenny the fucking baseball show with the comedy Kenny Powers gimmick.
Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down. It's like the kick around guy for him, right? Like he gets with the Mexican chick after being the fucking doing whatever Kenny Powers tells him to do.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Sure. But we want to see the empowerment and the growth of that character.
Yes.
And this payoff was that of him getting that. Now, maybe he's married with kids and this was just a work, but that would be even more awesome if maybe he's divorced now and they were together. I don't know this, and that proposal was a shoot. I would love if they blurred those lines in there but either way, we're getting a marriage angle now with Rosemary and them going forward. And I believe it was a shoot because of the choice of Taya saying yes. I don't know. I'm not trying to work myself in anything here, but I just didn't see anything follow up on there. And maybe they are, or they aren't, who knows? But the fact that I don't know also makes me happy about this.
Yeah, no, that's some good stuff there. I agree. I liked the Johnny Bravo, I guess you might say. He was, as you mentioned, the C character, if you will, in the scenes. But sometimes the C character is the main character, and that's
that one line that means everything, that opens the door. Strangers always says, even Alicia, who he doesn't usually care for her performance, did very well. I agree with that fully. She was a backup saying yes and pushing characters to their choices, and you need that in a scene. And she did a great job with it, especially after kind of being, we don't need her as a wrestler. We know she's Eddie's wife. What can she do? Well, right here, she just played the Catalyst best friend character, and I have a newfound appreciation for her, and she's part of this piece that will, like I said, will be evergreen and go down in history.
No, I don't disagree. I get my point was I was getting to is sometimes, it's, right, there's no small parts, only small actors, as you are the main player. Like even as a high school kid, I remember there was a play I wanted to be the lead character in. I think it was like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, but I ended up getting Muff Potter and I ended up being upset. But then as you see the story unfold, wait a minute, I am the main fucking character.
Yeah,
the story revolves around me. So like, once you figure out what your part is and how you play it, it's you can elevate anything, right? And everybody was elevated.
Character. You could have I've seen improv scenes where someone will play a silent character that just walks through the background of a scene and does one little thing and picks up something off a desk. You don't know what it is until the scene unfolds and we find out that you're in a school or whatever and it was the teachers and you picked up the test for tomorrow and you've got all the answers. Doesn't say anything. The whole scene doesn't revolve around you. 5 minutes later, next scene, walk across and pick something up, or just walk in the back and just do something. By the time we get to the very end of that show, usually that line or whatever that was, and that person didn't even know what they were doing, they just did a walkthrough, it will make perfect sense that they are the catalyst for the go home of whatever it is without ever having to say a word. And the audience is completely intrigued because they are with the game being played out. They've come along this whole ride with you. And are you going to give them that line as the C player in the scene? That's wrestling psychology. That is the, I can exhale. It was resolved. The continuity, my time invested, and I will remember it forever because they brought me along that ride. And then they gave me the resolution that I wanted, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, no, this was good. I hope Impact puts it just all together in one DVD or some, VOD package where you can just watch all the Wrestle Houses, because it was just really well produced from, beginning to end with this whole thing.
To wrap up, set it up as a one playlist on YouTube, right. And anyone that's searching wrestling can find it and be like, oh shit, this is pretty good. I wonder what's going on Impact.
Right. That's a good point.
So was Wrestle Court, which kind of set up, the worlds for this, of them all interacting together. Right. Fun with that stuff. So great work, Impact. Great work.
Any final thoughts, Dr. Ted, on this show?
I would say it was Well, I'd say it was a bloody ripper, mate.
All right.
I think that's what they say.
I had a bloody ripper upstairs because I had salad and 2 cups of roaster's coffee this morning. So,
Well, I don't have the Twitch chat open here, but I do have the YouTube chat here. Just a couple of shout outs. Boston Kennedy, Nate Clinton, who actually sent over a podcast of his, I think it was either his younger brother or cousin, who has a video game podcast. So I'll be interested to check that out. So thanks, Nate, for sending that over. You can send over your submissions all the way up until this upcoming Monday to Hameen Media Group at gmail.com for the 5-star search. You can get a podcast, guys, on our network. And you'll have your own built-in audience, which is half the battle when building out anything. So, I mean, take advantage of this opportunity because they don't come, they're very few and far in between where, any type of company does this. So you'll have an opportunity to get onto the ground floor and maybe one day you'll get to sit in a pre-meeting like I did today. And you get to just sit there and be astounded at how the business really works. But then after, also Mark, it looks like we got a Mark. His name is Mark in the chat room. Hope Spot 234, Daniel Price. Boston Kenny, as I already mentioned, of course, Hami Media Group is in there. You can follow us on YouTube. And if I miss anybody else, I'm sorry, but thanks, guys, checking us out on YouTube.
Frank's Pickle Barrel. This is on twitch.tv/conspiracy horseman, twitch.tv/Hami Media Group, double broadcasting, trying to get numbers back on that Hami Media Group as well. Appreciate it. Frank's Pickle Barrel has Strangers Alley, Buckshot Kid, a lot of heavy hitters. Steve Wizard, who is new name I haven't seen too many times around. Best and a bunch of numbers, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you watched along with Impact last night, thanks for joining us as well as we spun all the DJ BH Schmoove tunes last night. It was
you called it the Impizzle or Impact Sizzle, Watch a Whizzle or something like that.
Watch a Whizzle Rizzle. So that's what we're doing. We're having a good time with the watch alongs. As much as we can to get through it, with last night was easy. It was easy to turn the music off because the content was so good. So we appreciate that. Also, a lot of people on brand with Russo's brand and Patreon signing up right here at the beginning of the month. Appreciate you. Goldie said something where her Patreon's cards got declined. So I got to get a hold of Goldilocks right now and make sure everything's set with her Patreon. If you're subscribing over there, we appreciate that as she's under the Russo brand family umbrella and Hameen Media Group consulting package. John Carnage actually last night sent me an email I got to check in on, and he's got business questions too. So we're going to be more consulting. Maybe another opportunity too. I got to check in with Russo. I didn't even scoop you guys too yet. So there's Stooge reports to still be had and all the pre-show meetings. What else am I forgetting here? Well, I was going to say good pro wrestling tee sales over the weekend. People were really on brand. Somebody bought 3 Hameen shirts. Somebody bought a Taylor Hendricks, a Stevie and a Hameen shirt. And that kind of stuff to me just pops me. Somebody bought 6 Stone Cold Skull Ranch shirts and they were putting it over. I was like, oh, thanks for supporting independent wrestling. Stone Cold really needs that fucking money. Good job. And I believe he was from Australia too. So
find him, Ted.
Yeah. Maybe it was Ted.
Bollocks.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to get everything, keeping it rolling, man. Unfortunately, the Swinger Project, I mean, you can go over there and troll him kindly because he is one of our brothers and the best thing in wrestling. I still love to work with him. And sometimes the horses got to be led closer to the pond and their faces push right in it for him to drink. And, he's on Twitter, say, maybe wish you guys were working together. But if not, the beat goes on here at Hameen Media Group.
If I've learned anything in the Outback, a good boomerang always comes back. And if it doesn't come back, then it was just a stick.
Well, to put over once more again, the 5-star submissions, get your submission in Hami Media Group at gmail.com. I actually got a submission a couple days ago about a mental health podcast I'm going to look into. So send them over everything, guys. Send them over. If you got want to do a podcast about stocks, mental health,
I was thinking
shoes,
and not that I want to with any of my stupid little bratty kids that I've got away, but that show Axe Cop? Do you remember that cartoon Axe Cop? Did you ever see that?
No.
It's good. You should watch it. It was a short run, but the guy was an animator and he just had, I think it was his little brother who was like 6 or 7 years old. He got to write the comic for Axe. It's a cop who kills people with axes.
Oh, okay.
Badass motherfucker. He rides a bear and he's got a sidekick who's a little funny fucker too. But the kid would write it and then the dude would animate it. And I'm wondering how we could have I don't want to really get into kids' opinions like that, on the brand, but how is there a dynamic that way? Because I know the one dude, Marky Mark or whatever, watches wrestling with his kid, and that kid goes in on some workers and shit who he doesn't know, and that pops me, man. So is there a dynamic we could figure out that way? I don't know. Maybe your kid's a smart ass little fucker and would be good with a podcast trashing things. But we're taking submissions now at Hameen Media Group, you guys.
Well, I mean, we've got a guy who says that his kid's smart and watches wrestling. That's Billy Ray Valentine. I mean, also Big Ray Hernandez kids watch. I mean, they should do a podcast, get Billy Ray and Big Ray's kid together and put them together to do a wrestling podcast.
I would, but I got to digitize this guy's VHS library of all his wrestling stuff. So I'm busy right now.
All right.
Organizing 12-year-olds to do a podcast.
If you tell Billy Ray and Big Ray to have their kids do Aiden and whatever Billy Ray's kid is. I don't want to know. He wants to stooge his name off. But Big Ray is talking about Aiden all the time. So that's it, guys, for another edition of the Impact Attack. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew_Schaffer. You can also check out Hameen Media Group on Twitter and Instagram at Hameen Media Group. Find us on Facebook. However long we'll still remain to be there until Mark Zuckerberg takes us down. But in that case, we have the Discord. So join us there. If you want the invite link, it only lasts for 24 hours. So you have to either tweet me or send me an email so that way I can immediately reply back and you'll get your invite link. Otherwise, I just can't put it up. It just expires. So
at Hameen Media Group on Twitter. Get at them.
Yep. Go ahead, Dr. Ted, Outback Ted. What do you got for yourself for the rest of the week?
Well, of course, tomorrow we'll be breaking down last night's Super Tuesday NXT show. So if you can wait that long, Colin and I will break down. Apparently, they had a fatal 4-way 1-hour Iron Man match. Whew, I can only imagine how fun that was to put together, but we'll break it all down, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I haven't seen it yet, but I've read, and apparently, well, I'll go ahead and spoil it. Most people already know it led to a non-finish, and I'm already going to talk about already having not even seen the match to make people emotionally invest themselves for an hour and then let them know they just spent the last hour for no payoff is not how you attract fans. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'm willing to bet that the following week we're going to see the ratings reflect that, because that was not a good call, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. I'm going to watch it, and we'll break it all down tomorrow on the Next Level Wrestling review. So be on the lookout for that, either on YouTube or on Podbean or wherever else you get your Hameen Media shows at. And it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
One more thing I want to also put over. Don't forget, guys, I think Dynamite is back to our regular time tonight because the NBA basketball teams and all that. So we will be back tomorrow with Light the Fuse with the sexiest fucking podcast on Hameen Media Group.
I don't know.
And I'm dropping the link right now for the Discord and the Twitch. I got you. I saw your question.
Cool, man. Yeah, guys, it's the Impact Attack. Really great feeling getting to watch something that we cared about come to an end in the right way, paid off the right way after years and years of being $5 face slapped by bad creative. They did it right. So we thank you for listening along here at hackerhameen.podbean.com, twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman. Now on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes. It's WHMG Infidels signing off, but we'll be back tonight with your Conspiracy Horseman. Yalla. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi,